Energy Tech Podcast. I am the co-host Mike Flores right here in lovely San Diego, California, as part of Solar and Battery Discovery Day with Ignition and Inductive Automation. And with me, I've got a great guest, Mr. Vish Ganti, the President and Chief Operating Officer of Durk. Vish, it's good to have you on the show.
Likewise. Thank you, Michael.
No, good to have you. And I'm glad you came to me. You know, we were looking, you guys are on a panel today, and I saw you on that panel, and as soon as I saw that, I said, we got to put this guy on the podcast.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so
honored to be here.
Definitely good to have you. And before we get started and kick this off, I want to ask you, what is your role there at Durk? I realize you are the president and COO. Tell me a little bit about what led up to that and what you're doing here at BESS.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a little background about the company and what we do. We're protecting energy assets.
Yeah.
We believe in the next 4 or 5 years, we're going to get about 400 gigawatts of new energy assets on our distribution circuits and our networks.
Right.
Both transmission and distribution scale, right? So our mission is to secure that infrastructure that's coming online. And these are not in isolation. These are located at AI data centers, AI factories, in large industrial parks, utility scale projects, right? And historically has been left out. So that's what we're really protecting against.
Right.
Nation threat actors. And it requires a different muscle and expertise because you're looking at physics of how these electrical systems behave,
right?
Not looking at network-based threats and firewalls, which is the traditional way of looking at it. And you know, we're going to talk a little later about this ROC. I believe in the ROC and a SOC convergence.
Right.
The ROC, which is remote operation centers, and the security operation center, and they're converging because both sides have to speak and coordinate and look at the same threats and same effects on the physical systems.
You know, you're actually getting me pretty excited because I almost want to jump right out now and start talking about the attack vectors with artificial intelligence, but we're going to talk about that. I'm genuinely excited that you're here. And to kind of kick this off, Vish, I want to get, you mentioned something earlier. You talked about the convergence real quick of SOC and ROC. So one of the things I see is always a shift from just what used to be a single site to now you have a remote fleet.
Right. It changes everything.
Yes. And so walk me through that, because in your mind, I want you to tell me, Mike, it's not just about what we typically talk about, cyber posturing in the enterprise. Right. Everyone's used to that. We're not talking about phishing scams. We're not talking about, that type of enterprise posture. Walk us through what the posture is now when you're shifting from a single site to a remote fleet.
Well, that changes everything, because what you thought was isolated and completely independent of any digital electronic perimeters of communication. Now you have a system that's connected to the internet.
Right.
It's discoverable. You can communicate over VPN tunnels, or you can put onions and layers of security around it.
Correct.
You've just now put the system that's connected to other systems.
Yes.
And those other systems, you might control your asset, but you may not know the security posture of the other assets, like a camera or another, a badge reader.
Right.
That can stand as points of ingress on your OT network.
Right.
And by nature of the protocols that are used in the industry in the solar and these systems, they're all unencrypted. Modbus, GNP3, we don't encrypt any of that in the operational networks.
Correct.
So yeah, an attacker could come in through a camera that's been compromised and write Modbus points and registers, and the system behaves the way it's supposed to because you're commanding it a set point.
Well, not just that, Vish. I think one of the things you're seeing is because you have what I call middle of nowhere technologies.
Yeah.
Meaning you have remote operations that are a lot of times middle of nowhere. It doesn't matter if you're in BESS, your battery, oil and gas, energy, water, wastewater. At the end of the day, sometimes there's a technician that wants to remotely troubleshoot.
Remote desktop.
Yeah, RDP,
right?
RDP. You might even have certain tools that are available that give you the sense of security,
yeah,
but they're not quite secure, right?
Yeah, because we're all relying on an encryption key.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it only takes the attacker to find an ingress point. It doesn't necessarily mean it's your front door.
Right.
It could be a leaky bucket on a SNMP port or a FTP port.
Right.
that gives them escalated privileges into an asset.
Yes.
And what these attackers that we're seeing, like nation threat actors like Bull Typhoon and
Right.
things that have been publicly discussed, right?
Right.
They go and change set points in inverters and they walk away. These are called living off the land attack types.
Yes.
So when the voltage and frequency, fluctuate and trip, they activate these new attack types that get triggered. And you don't have any trace of it because these were programmed into the inverter settings
Right.
and you never saw those.
Right. And now that gives them a longer term access, right?
Yeah, persistent access.
Persistent access, and gives them a little bit more capability on east to west locations inside of those networks, right?
Exactly. So, and historically, yeah, unencrypted east-west traffic. I think there was a little bit of encryption north-south,
Right.
but east-west, virtually none. So the new NERC-CIP regulations, the CRA regulations in Europe, NIS2, what they're all calling for is a change in how we do these operational networks. They're asking for internal network, first of all, monitoring,
Okay.
east-west traffic monitoring continuously.
Right.
And in case of a cyber incident, you want to be able to quickly pull logs and comply with the reporting timeline.
Right.
So that's on just the encryption, and then there's also a big mandate to encrypt communication.
Right.
And we've done with other systems, like think about how Chromecast operates with your device. They're sort of on an encrypted network,
Right.
but there's customer experience and all the onboarding that's built into those.
You know, one of the things I've noticed, Vish, in the industry, and it doesn't matter, again, it doesn't matter the industry, but we'll target just, what we're talking about here, which is, solar, battery, energy, in that sometimes cybersecurity is relegated to an automation superintendent, technician. So
Yeah.
they're not necessarily cyber practitioners.
Right, they're operations people.
Yes.
They're guys who are pushing the HMI.
Yes, exactly. So, in your experience, what are some of the things that maybe DurSec is doing, or that you're seeing in the industry that reduce that? Because that person becomes part of the vector and part of the landscape, right?
Yeah, and in fact, some of the times that we've seen are those exact operators' credentials that are compromised
Yes.
in a phishing attack or other ways that are used again later for further reconnaissance.
Yeah, and so, one of the words I hate that CISA came out with, which was cyber hygiene. I hate to hear that word just because it reminds me of change your oil every 5,000 miles, brush your teeth twice a day. It kind of has that same feeling.
Yeah.
So it doesn't become a natural part of operations. And in my experience, when you sounds that way, you don't do it. So in what DurSec does, let me ask you, what do you bring into the table at the human level that helps with that?
Yeah, I think our unique perspective is that historical approaches for cybersecurity have all been on the network side. Some networking guy does segmentation, firewall rules, etc.
Right.
You never know anything on the operations side. You're only looking at your HMI and operational data and telemetry from the assets. We're bridging the gap.
Okay.
Number one. So we bring the network data into the operations center, and we expose these alerts so that if we do see a malicious IP, I think the operator needs to know about that.
Yeah.
At least they have to have enough intelligence and information to make informed decisions. So I'm going to shut down communications from this.
Right.
But they might take manual interventions right now, and nobody wants to do agentic.
Right.
And that people are very scared about agentic operations in SCADA environments, right?
Sure.
But having said that, at least they want enough knowledge and information of real situational awareness and what is it that they need to collect for incident response.
Right.
Because soon after that happened, your cyber compliance guy is going to come ask you for data.
Right.
Pull me a report. Right. So we solved that problem by building ignition modules. So delivering that into the same single pane view of the prospective UI, as opposed to building yet another user interface for the operators to find security vulnerability incident issues.
So what I'm hearing is that what you're creating is some software capability or some capabilities that are not just what cyber has, like bolt-on things, right?
It's built in.
Yeah, so it's built in, not bolted on.
Exactly.
And I think that is one of the key things. I see that as a big differentiator if that's what DURSEC's doing. It sounds like that's the case.
It's absolutely. We're looking for power-based threats.
Yes.
We're obviously looking for all the network-based stuff. That is table stakes, right?
Yes.
But incrementally and above and beyond, if you don't understand how systems behave when connected to the grid, think about really fast ramping AI workloads.
Right.
That could trigger a battery from ramping slower or because it's misprogrammed, right? These could have consequences on the operations, financial penalties. Then who do you blame? The third party? This is the fun part.
Yeah.
And every incident that we've seen, it's always a third party's problem,
Wow.
right? It's like
Yeah.
some operator, system integrator, O&M provider,
Right.
who all have access to the system, the same data through API tokens or remote monitoring, remote desktop. You can't the cat's out of the bag in that sense,
Right.
And the other part that I just want to go back to what you asked about, what does AI mean for us today?
Right.
It's terrifying given that the operational PLCs and these controllers that we find in these environments
Right.
usually are not patched,
You're right.
and they're very hard to patch.
Well, yeah, because a lot of it they don't want to take a shutdown. That's usually operational number one. Remember, OT's perspective is we've got to keep running. Cash is king or production's king. If I'm on the IT side, I'm all about a security posture.
Yep.
So you're obviously have an operational fight when it comes to that. So I agree with you. I think that exists, right?
We're here to settle the fight.
Yeah.
Let's just say that. It's a tough problem, right? Because you have different perspectives,
Right.
there are different priorities. But hey, it's a fun problem nonetheless, because that's where rubber meets the road at the intersection of how systems connect to SCADA, operations, and our customers are largely operators who are operating hundreds of megawatts of assets
Right.
connected to an inductive automation ignition platform, and we want to make it easy for them to, hey, I want to monitor my energy assets. Today, I'm completely blindsided.
Yeah.
We make a click button, deployment through the ignition modules and SDKs.
Yeah. So let me ask you a couple of things. I'm going to start first with DURSEC as a whole.
Yeah.
So when DURSEC, I'm a mid-level operator. I could be a colo operator. I could be someone in that energy space. Talk to me about what is some of the things that DURSEC does when you're parachuted into a client.
Yeah, first is discovery.
Okay.
We have a very unique way of fingerprinting all the energy assets and detecting them.
Okay.
Your traditional firewalls don't know, they might find an IP address.
Right.
But they wouldn't know it's a 5 megawatt battery system or a 10 megawatt battery system.
Right.
So we just run a simple scan and find all the energy assets that are on the OT network. And then we start building models for what is normal for that asset. More than likely, we've collected thousands of digital fingerprints of these assets elsewhere in other projects. So we build a threat system that allows, hey, if I find this type of energy asset and I see this firmware version, I'm going to flag that these are the vulnerabilities in those systems.
Is that an AI or machine learning capability? That's
The discovery part itself is very deterministic.
okay.
It's very less AI there.
Okay.
You could enhance error prediction, improving the accuracy, but by and large, it's a very deterministic system that scans this, right? It's like
Right.
when you scan an IP network, you see a bunch of IP addresses.
Got it.
So that's one. But then we start telling so we also use digital twins. So then we create digital twins of those energy assets.
Okay.
So we use those to educate either our operators or security operators or CISOs or VP of operations on what's the threat landscape if you compromise that energy asset.
Wow.
Right. So if you don't know, you don't know. You don't you can say the energy asset treat the same way as a printer or a camera or they're an IoT device.
Right.
If you don't really understand that these have a different threat vector and attack vectors are different, and the impacts are much more consequential because you're targeting, 50 megawatt, 100 megawatt asset.
Got it.
Now, if you put this into context with what's happening with AI data centers, they're building gigawatt scale data centers now with a majority of that co-located with on-site power generation. If you compromise those assets, they could have impacts on the rest of the network.
Right.
Somewhere downstream, because these are all grid-tied systems, right?
Right.
So a data center down the road might experience a voltage or frequency issue because something here at this data center caused an issue, right?
Right.
So you can have a cascading failure problem, and that's the worst case scenario. And with AI, I think identifying where the weak points are on the grid, intentionally targeting those, have almost become very easy. 'Cause a lot of data, when you combine open source data sets, publicly available data sets,
Right.
satellite imagery with an AI agent, you can do a lot of things these days.
So what I'm hearing, Dursik, is taking not just you're taking discovery to the next level. It sounds like you're taking a digital twin that you can learn from rapidly.
Yes.
With both structured and unstructured data.
Absolutely.
Right. That gives you that advantage. And yeah, I think I haven't heard that from a lot of cyber folks. I think that's exciting. On that same note, I want to ask you about this. Right now, one of the things I'm seeing is you have folks that, I guess, whether you're in manufacturing, oil and gas, any of these, there's a push away from the typical ISA 95 or a Purdue model.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, hey, the Purdue model's dead. Yeah, we certainly want to have some structure, but we want to have capability for data. We want a clean data path. We want great lineage at the edge. And so you see the rise of something like the unified namespace, right? What is something that Dursik is bringing to the table in terms of ensuring that you can still implement parts of the unified namespace and leverage MQTT and that type of protocol? Or if you're in the data center space, there might be Kafka. At that point, what are some of the things that you see or that Dursik is doing to ensure that cyber posture?
Great question, actually. So one is there's a semantic data layer.
Yeah.
You're talking about, right? If you actually look at the energy asset type, whether it's a fuel cell or a battery, it has to do certain things like voltage, high voltage ride-through, voltage curves,
Right.
Frequency adjustments, power factor, and all those things. Those are fundamental regardless of what energy asset type you take. We've standardized a schema model
Got it.
that regardless of which energy type you can plug in, if you want a definition of what a volt-var curve or a frequency watt curve looks like, we've standardized that, right?
Yeah.
And through the SunSpec Alliance and the inverter ecosystem.
Right.
What that means is when you're integrating in, at site location A, you have batteries from manufacturer A. At site location B, you have a different manufacturer B. You might be in that business of this, connecting to a whole bunch of different manufacturers. It's a heterogeneous environment.
Right.
We're solving that problem for the energy industry. That was the number one problem that I thought, because you spend too much time doing Modbus maps,
Yeah.
integration maps, and but because you want to focus on the business outcomes, you're here trying to do binary hell, is what I
Yes.
call. So we've actually solved some of that problem for the energy industry. These ignition modules we have allow you to populate schemas directly inside of ignition tags, tag editor,
Yeah.
for these energy assets.
To maintain that CI/CD pipeline to ensure that's
Exactly.
still working.
It's auditable, it's in JSON. Now, the transport layer, if they want to use MQTT, by all means, the schema and tags stay the same, right?
Correct.
So the protocol itself becomes just a conduit.
Yeah.
It's the information model layer, the schema,
Yeah.
that is more useful and relevant.
Yeah. So you're still keeping the TCP wrapper that comes in with it.
Yeah, tomorrow
sure.
somebody wants to build a mesh network with these assets, yeah, absolutely.
Wow. So what, I asked them concerning that the pipeline. What else do you see as a challenge for enablement? Because you have to maintain that security posture. That's your business. But at the same time, there's an operational directive to deliver more power, more gigawatts. Now we're in the gigawatt range,
Yeah.
right? You can't shut down. We have to maintain the 5 nines, and more. What is the biggest challenge right now, not just for Dursik, but that you see in your experience for keeping the enablement open for these critical infrastructures?
Yeah, I think there is a term that I've seen used in other parts of the world. It's called primacy. It's the priority and how you stack these priorities. you have the asset on one end, right? The battery,
Right.
GPU, compute infrastructure, loads, et cetera, on one end. Then you've got the priorities of the energy markets, utilities, your own site operators saying, I got to meet. These are all constraints. Think about these are hard. Some are hard constraints and some are soft constraints.
Got it.
The job of the operator and your logic on your overall system, business logic on the SCADA system, is to make sure you operate the site reliably, safely, without breaching any of these constraints.
Right.
And these constraints could be from multiple dimensions.
Wow.
And so if you strip it down, it's like, hey, there's weather constraints, there's operational constraints, there's customer demand constraints, right? Let's say it's 4th of July holiday sale, and this data center has experienced a ton of sales, and they have more load. Well, you can't do demand response or curtailment in that data center because its operational value is high.
Right.
So I think it's a coordination problem, it's a prioritization problem, and with so many stakeholders touching these systems digitally or physically, it becomes a nightmare. And that opens up these systems for manipulation. In theory, we've seen that if you adjust the price signal that's coming in from your market operator, you could sway how the battery operates. You can weaponize the price signal
Right.
to make it do the wrong things at the wrong time.
Wow.
So you don't even need to physically touch it because you're relying on a weather signal or a price signal
Right.
that has an impact on how the systems at the customer side operates behind the meter.
Having said that, because I want to close here, I've got the timer down, because I want to keep you, but I can't. What you guys are about to talk? Give me in just 30 seconds a sneak peek and what you hope the guests take away from your presentation in just a little while.
Yeah, first thing I want to acknowledge all the great work what the operators do, their
Yeah.
tireless effort in maintaining system reliability, but they're operating with a complete blind spot on what happens on the security side.
Yeah.
And vice versa. The security guys know nothing about, they don't have empathy towards the operators because they don't know exactly what HMI buttons are doing
Right.
for the systems. I think if people in the audience are sitting here watching, I would basically say, you will learn to appreciate that these are two dimensions and they need to converge. So the ROC and the SOC need to operate in conjunction.
Yes.
And we want to enable that.
Got it. That's awesome. Well, you're going to catch it. If you're still here, you can definitely catch Vish Ganti. He'll be presenting here at our SBDD event with Ignition. He's a Chief Operating Officer and President at Durk. Vish, it is great to have you on the show. I'm your co-host, Mike Flotis, with the Energy Tech Podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and there's still time to catch them right here in lovely San Diego, California. Vish, thank you for being on the show, man.
Awesome. It's been a pleasure. Lovely.
Yes, this is good.
Enjoy.
Thank you so much.